So thank you for that reminder. Our final speaker, and I please hope that I get your name. Nerses, Aposhian? Not too bad. So I'm a woman by the name of Sean, spelled S-E-A-N. There is nothing that anybody has called you that can top that. He's a second-year student involved in numerous activities. Needless to, I will just not, rather than recite them, just say that he's an extraordinarily active member of the Loyola Law School community. Thank you.
My grandfather and namesake, Nerses Aposhian, was one of 5 children in a middle-class family in the town of Aintab, which was then in Armenia. His older sister, Yevnige, one of the last Armenian genocide survivors, recently passed away last year at 101 years old. She shared a story with me before she passed away that I won't forget. In 1917, the Turks continued to clear Armenians from Aintab. The sounds of screaming children led 3-year-old Yevnige to the front door of her home, where she saw children without shoes and Turkish police using whips and big sticks to beat them up and drive them down the street. The sounds of the children screaming on the deportation, still I hear them as I look through the cracked door, she said. The Armenian history is filled with tragedy, rape, torture, blood, screams, death marches, 1.5 million lives lost, genocide. The wounds are still open because even after 101 years since the Armenian genocide, the genocide is denied. Adolf Hitler once said, and I hate to quote it, "Who after all speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians? If we stop talking about it, Hitler would be right, and that can't be right. Who after all speaks today of the annihilation of the Jews? Who after all speaks today of the annihilation of the Rwandans? The truth is, we speak about the past to remember. Remembering, an act of justice. Why do we still speak about Martin Luther King Jr. and Cesar Chavez? After all this time, after all this honoring, isn't it enough? Remembering. Growing up, Martin Luther King Jr. was witness to constant discrimination against his people. And he too thought that can't be right. Thus, he was determined to do something about such injustices. Martin Luther King's purpose was focused on the future of his people and how they can move forward. He led multiple peaceful protests, at times resulting in his arrest, but he persevered. The number of his followers grew, and before he knew it, communities had come together fighting for social justice, fighting to right the wrong, fighting to fix America's struggle for civil rights. Dr. King once said, and I'm sure you've all heard, the time is always right to do what is right. And he was always ready to do what was right, even if that meant spending time in jail, being confronted by police dogs, or blasted by fire hoses to right the wrongs of this world. Martin Luther King loved to say that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. However, he taught us that the arc doesn't bend on its own. It takes endless effort. It takes endless action. It takes remembering. While the Armenian genocide is not forgotten, there are many people around the world who still do not know about this massacre of Armenians. Worst of all, the government of Turkey blatantly denies that the genocide ever happened. Every time I discuss this issue with people, I hear, but Nerses, why does any of this matter? It's been over 100 years, forget about it and move on. Trust me, I know how annoying it gets. But my fight for the recognition of the Armenian genocide is a fight against forgetting. It's a fight to keep society engaged. It's a fight to unite. But most importantly, it's a fight to ensure the purpose of the genocide, eradicating the Armenian people, is not achieved, even after all this time. As an Armenian, it is my contemporary obligation to be annoying, to continue talking about the genocide, to continue advocating against its denial, to remember. Plain and simple, If we forget, the genocide will have succeeded. If we forget, the Ottoman Turks would have achieved their purpose, even a century later. Remembering is never just for Armenians. The fight to remember the Armenian genocide is a fight to unite humanity. Besides genocides, there are many non-genocidal issues that we've already discussed today and that we all know: homelessness, poverty, education, racism, sexism, just to name a few. And as an Armenian, it is my obligation to the world to never forget and to advocate for social justice. It is important to remember because the Armenian genocide became the blueprint for the Holocaust, the Rwandan genocide, the Cambodian genocide, the Bosnian genocide, the Ukrainian famine, the current massacre of Christians in the Middle East, and just the one that we saw last week in Brussels, and many other crimes against humanity around the world. Unity. That is what we hope to achieve with social justice. Despite the color of our skin, the amount of dollars in our bank accounts, who we choose to love, at the end of the day, we are human beings. Picture this. Thousands of supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement on the steps of Congress is a powerful image. But let's take it a step further. Picture Asians, Latinos, Indians, Armenians, Christians, Muslims, Jews standing on the steps of Congress supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, the fight becomes one against all of humanity, not just a singular group of people. It is important that we remember and we change. To know where we are going, we need to know where we've been. By turning a blind eye to the truth, we're damaging our ability to speak truthfully. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Injustice against Armenians is an injustice to the world and a foreshadowing of future crimes against humanity. What matters is not what the world does to you, but how you respond. Each and every one of you sitting here today has a purpose to fulfill, whether or not you know what that purpose is. You will leave this school and you will have the power to change the landscape of our society and our country. What we are striving to achieve requires changing people's outlooks. It requires changing people's minds. It is a process that will last far beyond our time on this earth, but the work must start now. Don't stay silent. Never forget. Right the wrong. If people laugh at you because you want to change the world, keep fighting. Because as one of my favorite songs by Sam Cooke says, a change is going to come. When she was on her deathbed, my grandmother told me in Armenian, and I'll read it in Armenian and then I'll translate it. Միշտ հիշե որ դեղեն եկած ես, որ հայ ես, օգնե ադոնց, որ օգնություն պետք ունին եւ աշխարհին մեջ տարբերություն ստեղծե. Just make sure to remember where you came from. You're Armenian. Help those in need and make a difference in this world. I didn't understand quite what she was saying at the time, but now I have chosen to live those words. Thank you.